Hello and welcome. Today we are getting into just how powerful Thor is, and he is above most beings in comics. Within Thor's story, we have the events that take place from Thor becoming the king of Asgard, having several adventures with the Avengers, including the War of the Realms, along with battling Gorr the God Butcher, the King in Black, his hammer itself, the Hulk, and more. Then we have several different power-ups and transformations that allow Thor to be able to rival a majority of Marvel characters. So Thor, the most powerful Avenger, and that is still downplaying the God of Thunder, the All-Father, the one worthy of Mjolnir, the protector of the realms, and the one that the gods of Marvel look to when they are in trouble. So we all know his history, we know that he wields Mjolnir, but what makes him able to tango with such heavy hitters within Marvel Comics? Let's start with something simple like Thor's durability. So time starts 14 billion years ago with the first elder god outside the void. Assuming the end of time was only a few thousand years from now, which is what you should know. This is a low ball here, but for the sake of argument, we're going to assume that Thor does not age well in the next 1,000 years with the old Thor that we see in the run against the Gorr the God Butcher. So Gorr is able to get to the point that he creates a god bomb, and its entire goal is to destroy every single god that has ever been and ever will be. This means that the bomb is meant to destroy 14 billion 2,000 years minimum for all the realms that are infinite in size. This weapon being able to destroy an infinite number of Odins, for example, would be an out-of-versal feat, considering how obscenely powerful Odin is. Then take into account that there are other gods being added to the mix. This feat of reaching an infinite number of timelines to reach an infinite number of gods within them, and plenty of the gods within them are capable of withstanding destruction that would cause a universal or multiversal collapse at a basic principle, means that what I'm about to show you is setting the tone already with the God of Thunder. See, the middle-aged Thor in the story was able to absorb the bomb and its entirety and completely ruin the plans that Gorr had actually begun to execute on. Now wait, digital, how does that even work? Good question. We know that the God Bomb was created to destroy every single god of any mythology, with any role in every single realm, and every single moment in time from the beginning of time to the end of time. So for this God Bomb to have the destructive capability to destroy every single god. This includes every single god that we know of and that we don't know. Like Hela in every timeline, Loki, I already mentioned Odin, Ares, Zeus, and obviously any other god you were thinking of. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know and we can explain the Marvel realms in another video. To continue, we know that Gorr was whooping all three of these Thors by himself, to which he eventually was overwhelmed by them. So let's focus on the current Thor here, and how he was able to trade blows with Gorr as well, meaning that this weaker version of Thor was swinging above his weight class and going several rounds, which he shouldn't have been able to do. So what I want to do is talk about Thor on his own at first, and then we will bring in his trusty weapon, Mjolnir. Thor decided it would be fun to throw his hammer across the 10 realms, starting from Asgard and having it land in Midgard right in front of Iron Man. Thor, in his fun, jokes that Odin would not have been able to do this. Even if Odin was capable of doing this, it wouldn't take away from just how unbelievable this feat actually is. Even if this was something that Odin would be able to do, that tells me Odin and Thor are likely the only ones that have been able to wield the hammer that would be able to throw it this far. So after the story of Gorr, Thor would eventually become the king of Asgard, inherit a portion of the Odin Force, which would be known as the Thor Force, while also retaining his amazing power in his typical form. However, when fighting Mjolnir, Thor receives the remainder of the Odin Force from the All-Father and transforms. As this happens, he is able to completely stop his corrupt hammer from harming him anymore. This amplification in power that Thor receives is beyond comprehension, because Thor and Odin were both getting their tails whooped by the hammer. Then for Thor to completely flip the script and be victorious is obscene. But wait, we know that Thor actually wields the hammer most of the time, not when he's fighting it obviously, so how scary is the hammer that Thor wields? With the hammer, Thor's speed has got to be one of the highest in Marvel. During the story of Gorr the God Butcher, he is fighting several versions of Thor at once, and is blasted several light years away from the old King Thor. For folks that do not know, every single light year is about 6 trillion miles. So for both of the Thors to arrive as soon as Gore hit the planet, they are traveling light years in sheer moments. In the world of Marvel, this speed isn't even that impressive because that still means that it would take several minutes for Thor to travel across the Milky Way galaxy. Well, we know how fast Thor's hammer can travel. When Thor's hammer Mjolnir is corrupted, Sif sends it through the Bifrost, beyond the farthest point of known existence, an endless abyss beyond the eyes of even the most ancient, abstract, primordial gods, a place so remote and far that there is no way of calculating its distance. This is directly quoted by Odin. But just after Odin finishes explaining how far away the hammer was sent, it immediately returns to attack the gods. Traveling outside of several realms in moments is between infinite and immeasurable speed because the realms are infinite in size, which is why it takes something like the Bifrost to travel in between these areas. Let's talk about the time Thor was the Herald of Thunder with Galactus. At the beginning of this story, Galactus, Cosmic Ghost Rider, and Silver Surfer Black approach Thor to have him help Galactus with fighting the Black Winter. If you know anything about these two versions of these heralds, you know that these folks have terrifying power, and if they need Thor's help, then the Black Winter is the real deal. Galactus is known as the World Eater, and the Black Winter is known for consuming entire universes. When we see Galactus escape the Black Winter, it's noted that he had survived the death of a multiverse. When empowered by the Power Cosmic and the Thor Force, each of these powers are capable of taking a normal human being and multiplying their power to universal level threat. Take Silver Surfer, for example. They were a typical mortal, and then with the Power Cosmic have always been known as one of, if not the most powerful being in the cosmic within Marvel. Thor has these multipliers, and his base form is so beyond comprehension that I will try to do my best to explain his power. For Thor on his own, he was known as one of the strongest Avengers, competing with the likes of someone like Sentry and Hulk. Early on, before they face off against this entity, the Black Winter, Thor and Galactus have a scuffle, to which we see that Thor is able to easily defeat this weakened World Eater. Then, as Galactus consumes these special planets that the Surfer had been hiding, Galactus is not only at full capacity, he is in even more powerful version than we normally see him. This is something that the heralds I mentioned earlier are scared to imagine Galactus consuming these planets. While Galactus and Thor go on to fight the Black Winter, there is another scuffle between the God of Thunder and the World Eater, to which Galactus states he will take the Power Cosmic back, and we get to see that Thor is very much over his alliance, and the two fight, and Thor drains all the power from Galactus and defeats him. And since the Black Winter caused multiversal destruction, this would lead to the idea that the Black Winter would also have destroyed Eternity, who is the embodiment of the universe itself, which I would say is a stretch in power, as these proxy relationships and power can be inconsistent or just outright contradicting. This is all to share that the Herald of Thunder, Thor, has feats that show at a high level he rivals Eternity, who lost to the Black Winter, and Thor defeated him. Then we have Celestials that are considered some of the most powerful beings in Marvel. Null defeated plenty of the Celestials and took over their bodies. Thor was the first individual in his scuffle with Null to inflict serious damage on this same Null when he was in his Herald of Thunder form. If you don't know who Null is, then a quick rundown would be that Null is the god of the symbiotes and the King in Black. He ripped Sentry in half after Sentry had torn through these Celestials I was talking about, along with forcing the Silver Surfer to run away when he found himself near Null and was defeating all the heroes that live on Earth. But we aren't done here, because Thor was still amplified by the Power Cosmic when he fought with Null, but we have additional feats that are Thor as he is today in a typical base form. When Hulk and Thor are having their battle, there is a point that a significant amount of gamma is exposed and Thor absorbs it. This transforms the God of Thunder into a Hulk. Odin is communicating with Bruce Banner while Hulk and Thor are fighting, and Odin comes up with the idea to have Thor sent into the World Tree, If you are not aware, the World Tree is what holds literally everything together for all of reality. Odin notes that the united power of every realm in the known and unknown universe are working to cage his madness. All of the magics and enchantments known to the runes and fates to leech this fury from his soul. And even this isn't working. Before Odin is finally able to cleanse Thor, the entire World Tree was being picked up by Thor. Thankfully, Thor returns to himself and reality is saved. Now, I know the question I'm going to get here is, how does this relate to base Thor? Well, Modok, M-O-D-O-K, eventually finds himself with the power of the World Tree and calls himself Mythos. With this power, he is filled with the power of the 10 realms. And Thor goes to confront him without some Hulk power-up or power cosmic. Thor goes in with his hammer and proceeds to destroy Mythos. All in all, Thor can contest with most folks in Marvel and comics. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Then, if you have a preference on the next Marvel video we do, feel free to drop your idea in the comments. Thanks, and see you later.